everyone. Okay. So there you go. I think. So again, hi everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for this. It's really nice to actually play again in concerts, even though it's online. It still feels very nice to actually perform again. So I'm here with Nas, who's going to play with me at the piano. I'll introduce the piece one by one, but the first piece we're going to play is Clara Schumann's First Romance. Okay, before I go on to the next one, is everything okay? You hear me? You see me? All good? Yeah? Okay, great, perfect. Okay, I'll keep going then. Okay, so the next piece we will play is Devil's Trail Sonata by Tartini, and we're going to be playing the first two movements. Thank you. Still all good. Sound and visual. Right? Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's keep going then. I just wanted to keep checking in case. Okay. So the next piece we're going to be playing is the second movement from Wieniawski Violin Concerto, number 2. It's the way, just to say maybe a little bit about my choice of repertoire for this performance. I tried, because it's 30 minutes, I tried to get like a mix of several pieces and of several different areas in time as well, and different moods. So that there's really a mix of everything. So Devil's Trill was, of course, quite technical and quite fast, especially in the second movement, and quite a lot of precision work. And then now the Wieniawski Concerto, the second movement, is very romantic, very very romantic, just overall quite dramatic in a way, but it's actually one of my favorite slow movements in concerto. I find it is really this such beautiful melodies, and so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so to finish their this little performance, we're going to play the title, but still very romantic. Yeah, I usually like finishing with something a bit lighter and where it's still, yeah, still quite romantic, which is my favorite type of music. Okay. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I have to go on with their masterclass. If you need a bit of time, that's fine. I can wait a few minutes around. Just up to you. Let me know.
Yeah, thank you so much for playing. It was such a pleasure to hear you play. But yeah, if I'll open it up to any questions that anyone has right now, and then we can move on to the masterclass coachings, and we can either start with Max or Yulia, whichever one wants to go first. So, does anyone have any questions for Esther at all? Okay, Max, would you want to be the first player? Okay, cool. All right, well, then we'll go ahead and start with Max then.
So I'm going to be playing the first movement of the Dvorak Concerto. So how much would you like me to play?
You said the first movement you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have 45 minutes. what's the length of it again? If you played it?
It's about like 9 minutes. The whole thing.
How much? Sorry.
9 minutes.
9 minutes. You can play. I think the whole thing. We have time. I think 45 minutes. That should be enough. And okay. Let me just go get a chair. I'll be back in 1 second. Thank you very much. It's a really impressive. I mean, it's such a big concerto and like one of the most famous one as well for the cello. So I know there's I don't know personally, I always feel a lot of pressure when it's such a famous piece, you know. But you did so well, and it's extremely technical as well, and you really handled it well. It's a shame that through the internet I couldn't hear your sound properly, but it sounded still very beautiful even from online.
Thank you.
And it's very emotional playing, and you're really into it when you play, which is really beautiful to both hear and see. So well done on all of that. How can I ask just first, how did you feel? How long have you been working on it?
So I've been working on this since I think late July, August, thereabouts. I know that when I sit down to practice, I should probably spend less time on the lyrical parts and spend more time on the more technical stuff. There were a there were a few shifts that I didn't quite get there, but I felt like that was a solid run through.
Yeah.
In playing the whole thing is always very different from just working on spots because it's
Indeed.
so
Yeah.
long. You have to,
Yeah, and I think as I was about to say, because especially when you're playing a concerto on your own, obviously it's very different from when you have an accompaniment. But
Mhm.
especially these like that, when you're really swapping from such a melodic part to then super technical stuff, and it's always that shift between melody and then very technical things, and that's not so easy to keep up with, especially when it's quite a long concerto. But I think, I mean, as I said, overall, like really, it's really really good. I think maybe what you could try and do is, as you said, about having a better connection with the whole piece. So instead of, but it's easier said than done, especially when you're on your own and there's no accompaniment. But I think to have a bit more connection between the melodic singing passages and the technical passage. At the moment, it is just a tiny bit like when you get to that technical passage, we can tell you're just like, okay, we got
Okay,
that.
yeah.
This is a difficult bit, and then we move on out. This is the nice bit. But maybe to try and think about those more difficult bit more musically, so that, I mean, again, I know it's very easy to say, but you do seem quite confident with the actual technique of the passage. But I think if you maybe try and really phrase even the bits which are quite difficult and with a lot of shifts and these octaves, I think usually it helps if we try and take, once we've practiced well, which you have done, once we try and take away our focus on, oh, I need to get that shift exactly right, but just the actual shape of the whole passage, and where's the melody going to, what's the high point, and just focus on that rather than the little bits of the technical, I think helps for it to sound like just part of the concerto rather than, oh, this is there, this is warning, this is a very difficult bit, and I can, you can do it very well, so no problem. But it was, to kind of I had a teacher who always used to say that if the audience shouldn't notice that it's difficult in a passage. So this is to show how comfortable you have to show how comfortable you are, that it doesn't even look hard to the audience. But do you want to maybe start again? I think that was my first comment, and the second comment I was gonna say is, again, it's very difficult to comment on the sound online. It sounded really beautiful to me from the internet, but I would say what could be maybe a bit more exaggerated is the change of vibrato in terms of also the way you're phrasing. You do very beautiful phrases, and it's very musical, but I think you can even increase that a bit more and really have your vibrato go with the phrase, and have a bit more of a variety of vibrato. Do you want to start again, and then we can maybe play the first part, and then we'll comment on that. Okay, like maybe just on that. Okay, so I would say that the beginning it's very good, but like I think you can play with a bit more how I would say like it's the entrance of the concerto, and it's the most one of the most heroic entrances. And I mean you have to show that like you're the boss there, and it's it's such a big entrance, and you really you have to have everybody doing like wow, okay. So I think you play it very well, but I think you're kind of too shy with it.
Okay.
I think like you have confidence in your playing, and really go for it. And I think really don't rush it. I mean, I'm not a cellist, so I don't know the concerto as well as as a cello teacher or something. But I would say that in all the, especially the beginning, like really don't rush it. Really sit on it, and so that even the shorter notes are very clear and very powerful. And maybe I would try and maybe have a tiny bit more a bit faster vibrato, and a bit especially when you have to increase the intensity, to have a tiny bit faster vibrato, and really, yeah, don't rush it at all. Like really sit on it as if everybody. I mean, yeah, you really are the star of the show there. So so enjoy it fully. So let's maybe start with that, and then I have 2 comments on the rest of it. Maybe let's start again at that beginning. Vibrato is much better already. Like this, like to bring intensity like that is already made it so much more exciting, and so much more intense. So that's great. I can keep that. I think it's good beginning. I think the chords again. Ignore my comment if it's just because of the online, but I think they could ring a little bit more.
Okay.
So I don't know in cello how you get taught during chords, but in violin we always I got told that in having a straight movement like that, then the sound usually stops, to have a more rounded movement. I don't know if that can work for the cello. It's just a guess, but yeah, to try and know how to really make it ring, to not stop the sound, and again I think for the chords, don't rush it, like bam bam, like, and really make sure that it rings and you really fully grasp all the strings of the chords and make it ring. And the first part was really good, and then when it's the second part, when it's the same rhythm as the beginning, again I think it was great for the intensity, but really don't rush the faster notes, and again really to take full use of the space rhythm that you have within that. If you want to, we can do that again and then keep going a little bit.
Yeah, from the top.
Yeah. What do you want to do with it? Because it repeats twice the same at the moment. I think you should probably try and do something, either grow, if it's so the first time, I think maybe it would make sense when you repeat something. It's usually to increase your, you want to ask again. So maybe do something like grow a little bit more there, and then if it goes down, that's fine. But yeah, just to really have a direction. And then I was gonna say, I'm not gonna make you do the start again, but I think with the start, now the chords, I think it's ringing better. I think the only thing is to, once you do the ringing, to just also still have a real direction in terms of the chords, of where it goes. So maybe to practice it, just the line, the melodic line of the chords, to really find your way and the phrasing you want to do through those chords. But I think it's very easy, especially when you have chords when it's all down, 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 to just play the notes without actually having a phrase. I think just that. And for the beginning, I think it's great, but just maybe the first note, maybe start vibrating it a little bit before you start playing the note. Again, it's a balance thing. I don't know if it works on a cello, but I'm guessing it could. Yeah. Do you want to go maybe just from that bit when it repeats twice? Let me try and remember. I want to say something, and the first thing, when you did the 2 times, again, maybe it's not the dynamic change enough because of online, but you could probably try and use it just even a tiny bit more. Then when you start I don't know if it's semi-quavers, but when it goes faster, and you're in détaché, I think maybe try, I mean, you do it well, but I feel like you're moving your head quite a lot when you go on to that bit, and you seem to be moving your head at the same time as your bow, which is very natural. I think it might, I mean, again, as a balance there, often when we're going to have difficult passage, we're going to be moving more, when actually, if anything, we're making it harder for ourselves, because we are just doing extra movements which make us tired, and also just sometimes unbalance the violin or the cello, I'm guessing. So I think maybe when you get to that bit, really feel that it's all in there, you're all doing it, the movement comes from the right hand, but not so much from the head and the upper body. So I think it can help for clarity in that bit, to really just keep it quite short in. And then I was going to say, and then we go on to that bit where there's those shifts. Do you see what I mean? Just after that bit, there's yeah. Okay. Now, just curious, actually, as a cellist, how do you practice your shifts? What's your way of practicing when you've got a big shift like that?
Well, I make sure that I can play it like forward and backward. I think about the other notes in the same position that I'm going to. Yeah, and you can do you can add the double stop if you things like that. Yeah, so you really solidify that.
Okay.
Those two different positions.
Okay. Yeah. And then which finger are you doing? Are you doing 3, 4 on there?
So 4, 4, 3.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think so. You said also before that there's a few shifts that you thought weren't that great. What do you think makes the difference between if you get a shift like perfectly spot on or not? What is the thing that went wrong?
Well, some of the issue is that I'm not really sure actually. I'm not sure if that is a mental thing or a physical thing, but I do feel some inconsistency sometimes, and like it's especially some of the larger ones.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I just think about it too much or if I just need to spend more time practicing it, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, sometimes it's just the mantle of knowing that there's that big ship that's going to arrive. But I think maybe sometimes you could, or again, stop me if I'm saying something that's like completely against cello playing, but maybe to release a little bit more the string pressure when you're shifting. I've found, and even personally, that sometimes in performance when it's a bit nerve-wracking or something, we tend to press more onto the string.
yeah.
Makes it even harder for us to shift.
Okay.
So I think to really release the finger before you shift and then shift. And then I find that sometimes when I time the movement of the shift in terms of my left hand with the movement of the right hand, with the movement of the bow, and to actually think of the two going together, sometimes that also helps me quite a lot. I think the thing that you're doing about working on this position but with other finger is great to really have a feeling of it. But I think sometimes, in for example, in those shifts where just sometimes you're going really quite fast there when probably the phrase is stretching and probably you could have a tiny bit more time to get to that note. And again, I was often told that we have to think. We always get told as instrumentalists that we have to think like a singer in terms of the phrasing. And a singer, when they have a very high, very big jump, they take more time to get there. So that means we're probably allowed to do it too. And so I think I think you can really take a tiny bit more time to really fully express that those big shifts, and make sure you really release the finger so there's not too much glissando, and try and feel the timing going with the right hand. That's things that personally help me quite a lot. Do you want to go from maybe again the same place where we're at when it repeats twice? Again, sorry, I'm gonna stop. Try this again and try and really stay completely out of it. Can you do a more intense vibrato just where you are? Good. Yeah. Do you want to keep going? you play it very, very beautifully. But I think again you can change more the vibrato. Just here when you're
Okay.
was it da, like really make people feel the tension that F natural just before you know you hold them there and then so I think and there's a few places like that in this melody where you can yeah you can just speak those notes and make them really special, you know, make something really special about them. Maybe try again from that lyrical passage. Yeah, good. It's really nice. How do you, I mean, how do you practice when you're trying to practice the musicality on a passage like this? How do you work on choosing the right phrasing, things like that?
Singing it
Singing it, yeah.
helps to, yeah, because then you can see what naturally
Falls. Now, I don't know how you do it, but I found that for me a good way to really link the singing, because sometimes when you sing it and then you play it, there's still a very big difference, because you have, you know, very obviously you have not difficulties, but there's the whole technical things. So I found that what helped me personally was to play the left hand, but on the wrong string, you know, or sorry, the left finger you play on the right string, but then you take your bow and you play on one string above, so you're not actually playing the notes. If that, I'm trying to make sense, but you play, for example, the melody with the left hand. Mm-hmm. You sing it. The first step could be that you play without the bow. You play just the left hand, but you sing with your left hand playing. So you're actually thinking both. You see what I mean? So if
wow, that is really cool. Yeah.
So if you're doing an increase in your voice, you try and really relate that to bigger vibrato. Then this here dies, and then the next step that can be is to play with the bow. But I sometimes play it, so as I said, one string above or one string lower. So I'm actually playing an open string, but the fingers are still playing the and either you sing it in your head or even you sing it out loud, and then you can actually work on properly on the left hand and the right hand in terms of the sound, the purity of the sound, the increase of the sound. You're not at all disturbed by your left hand or let me sing a shift. You're just working on the intensity, on getting that clean, and you really can focus on the phrase that you want, and then put it all together. And for me, it works quite well in passages like that, because sometimes we're going to sing it, we know what we want to do in our head, but actually putting it physically sometimes doesn't quite work, you know. But I think with that method, sometimes it tries and it puts it together. Okay, guys, do you want to keep going to do that again and keep? I think we've got until quarter past. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so we've got a bit more time. Yeah. It's good. I think just what the intersection where you got, I think really finish a little bit more the when you did the string crossing before going da 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 da. And I think just in even trying, I mean, obviously try and stay strict in terms of timing, but I think try and finish a little bit more the phrase just before, even though I know it's a surprise and you're but I think it was could be a tiny bit clearer in terms of you finishing the phrase and going into the next. You just to maybe go from a tiny bit before that start. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's written on the score in terms of timing, but I think it's just that like just to have that kind of, it's not your because the first time it just sounded a little bit like and you missed it, Okay, yeah, we need to go from there and keep going a bit. Okay, great. I think if we go again from that section, that new section that you started, I think you can grow it more. I think again, I don't know if how much of the online just makes it sound everything the same, but I think even in terms of intensity of vibrato again and intensity of when you're playing, to try and to make it grow, to not make it to have this growth, really to feel that, and then we reach the high point, but we have to feel that kind of satisfaction when you actually get there, and you do as well. It's like, you grow, there, and then at the end you just explode, and it's oh wow, finally. But we really have to feel the intensity is growing each time. Can you try again from a bit before? I think you can do more than that. I think you can be bigger than that. And maybe I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what's written on the score, but I think at one point you went down in dynamic again, and then you grew again. Is that written on the score, or?
No.
Okay, I think maybe just keep keep the growth instead of going down.
Okay.
Really keep it, because I think it's nearly where, oh no, it's coming down again.
Yeah.
So I think keep it, just maybe start a bit less if needed.
Okay.
But I think really try it and grow, and I think use every possibility that you have to make the intensity grow. I mean, maybe stretch it a tiny bit more when you get to the top. Intensity of vibrato. Is it? I don't know if is it a trill that's written, or is it actually a written rhythm?
No, it is written out. Yeah.
So it's actually written rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. But I think yeah. You know, make it as dramatic as you can for until that you get to that E, and then when you've reached that, we have to know that you've reached that bit, and then you get on to something else. But I think the main thing is to really have like, especially when you have an audience who, and even then, when you have an audience who knows nothing about music, for example, like, just I sometimes think about it that way. Like, we have to, and I think even for the people who do know, we have to be so clear in terms of emotions and of intensity, and of where's the high point, where's the tension, where's the release. Because if we want people to really feel an emotion, we have to be so clear about this, and the clearer we are, I think the more people can feel emotion to when listening to the music. Do you want to try that? I think we have to stop in a minute, but if you just try that bit again to the E, and try even exaggerate, like really exaggerate to get to the maximum tension when you get to that E. Yeah, I think it's getting there, but I think really that E really vibrated with more intensity, and what was I gonna say? Also, before you get there, there's one which is one motif that repeats twice. Again, I don't know if it's the online, but I think I would do the first one less, and then the second one more, and then like every time, as if you're just like saying something to somebody, and then at the end you're literally like really shouting at him.
Okay.
And to make your points, but yeah, I think we'll have to stop with well done. It sounds really, really beautiful. I'm sorry I can't hear it in real life. I would have loved to, but yeah, well done, and thank you for playing.
Thanks so much. I have a lot of great things to think about.
Pleasure.
All right, and then next we have Yulia. So, Yulia, do you kind of want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Julia. So I gonna play today first moment from Schubert's Fantasy. I know it's not complete without piano, but
No problem.
I will try to do my best.
No problem.
Okay. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I do.
Okay, nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really beautiful playing, and congratulations for managing to play with a mask on.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how you do it. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. And again, maybe I'll just ask you before we go into it, ask the same question as I asked before. Just like, how long have you been working on the piece, and how did you feel? How did you feel today playing it?
Yeah, I've been working a lot on this piece, but I still have a lot of things to do. When I just started to work on this piece, I think it's it can be not difficult, but when I like dive into this, I found a lot of details, and it's really hard to perform it because it falls apart really easily. And yeah, so I just looking forward um, to see, to hear what you think, and you can help me with this. Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, I think honestly, overall, I think especially the technical bits, I think you managed very well, and especially with that piano, which is quite difficult. I think the biggest difficulty, well, for me personally anyway, when I play with that piano is, for example, to keep the rhythm all the way through, because it's very easy to rush when we're without piano. But I think you did, overall, you really did quite well. We can maybe go from the beginning again. I think the first thing maybe I would just say at the beginning is in terms of your vibrato. It's very nice that you've got a very fast and very very, very fast vibrato overall, and quite intense. But I think you could afford to vary it a little bit, and sometimes make it a tiny bit slower, and especially at that beginning, which is quite calm, and to make it a tiny bit less all the time intense. Try and have a tiny bit more wider vibrato and a tiny bit slower. But we can go into details. Maybe just if you start again, and then we'll watch it. And it's good. You're very musical, and it's very beautiful. I just something right at the beginning. The shorter notes are, again, I don't know how much is me not hearing with the fact that we are online, but it seemed to me that the shorter notes were not vibrated. Is that like a choice, or is that just you didn't pay attention, or?
Okay, do you mean like a 16 notes, really small ones?
So if you you know what, I'll stop you exactly where I'm in. It's the first at the beginning.
Okay.
When you start playing a few shorter notes, these notes were now vibrated. I think overall, just to try and be just a tiny bit more consistent in the vibrato, so that every note is vibrated, even the shorter ones.
Okay.
I think it got better. It got better near when you went on. I think at the beginning, I mean, it's still a very nice effect, with your vibrato, but I don't know. For me, it's just a tiny bit too much on the nervous side of in terms of vibrato. Again, it's a thought from outside, and I know it's very different when we hear in live when I'm in the room with you, but maybe try, if you even if you want to keep that mood of quite intense vibrato, but to maybe have I don't know, I need to try and find my bow. I don't know where I don't know where I put it after I played. I wanted to show you. I don't know. It's there. But I think I mean, I've never played this piece in particular, but I think just in terms of vibrato, I think at the moment it's really quite tense. I think if you try and maybe release a tiny bit more in terms of the pressure of the string when you do that vibrato, and maybe the joints, you know, here to have that a tiny bit more flexible so that it does sound, so it would ring a little bit more. But I think the only thing that I find is that it stops a little bit the note from ringing to have such a near vibrato in a way. But you can still keep the same mood that you want to achieve, but just maybe make it a tiny bit rounder in general. And then I'll stop you if straight away if I get those notes that you don't vibrate. Okay, it's even just this. Sorry, I stopped you, but again, I don't know if I'm not hearing it because I'm not with you, but the are you vibrating those, or maybe you can do a bit more? Or, I don't know if I'm not hearing it. Maybe that's also possible. But to really also vibrate it with the same intensity that you were, and then the first, yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe I don't know, what do you want to do with that long C that you have? Do you want to make it grow? Do you want it the same? How do you want it?
Actually, I want to do like crescendo and descrescendo. So,
okay.
But
and it goes so there's the C and then right?
Yeah.
I don't know, is it written that thing, or is it your interpretation of it?
I just feel it's written as like a pianissimo, so just really, really quiet. That's all. So, but I feel like I need more. I don't know. What do you think?
I think maybe when I know it. I think you know, sometimes in passages like that, especially when it's quiet, it's not such an intense passage. It's sometimes quite difficult to actually find the right musical shape and right musical phrase. But I think sometimes the most simplest things sometimes work quite well. And I think in terms, if we just think of the way it goes, like. So I think it would maybe make sense to go towards that because it goes up. I think it is quite a simple phrase, and I think we could maybe try in terms of phrasing to just go with in terms of the melody that it goes up, and then we go with it. So maybe have an entrance that's quite mysterious and quite, you know, very quiet, as you were doing very well, you know. And maybe as you go, you can widen a little bit to start very fast and very good, and then and slowly take a bit more space into it, but yeah, going very mysterious, very quiet, and grow a little bit, even if it's not, you know, a huge growth, but just kind of you slowly go in, and then I think it's, you know, there's different kind of entrances in pieces, and sometimes like we had with the concerto, it was like bam, I'm here, and then sometimes it's like you suddenly, oh, we didn't even see you enter, and then you know, so I think maybe you can try that.
Yeah.
It's very nice. maybe unless it's written on the score, but you know, you went down a little bit at some point on the D, I think it was before. Is that written?
Yeah, it's like a diminuendo here. Yeah.
And then, okay, so I think even if you do that diminuendo and then you start again, really try and still bear in mind the phrase, that the phrase is still going up. So I think even if it's maybe then we start to, you know, but not to have, it's not like a complete new start, if you see what I mean. Like it's still a growth that's going from the beginning. We've got to a C, then we go to an E, then we go to an E, and then you're gonna go up even more. So I think that to keep in mind that it's, you're not restarting the new phrase, or you know, it's not like the beginning again. You're really keeping a very long growth towards the, and then you go up to all the way to the E string. But yeah, in terms of volume, then you do a bit of a diminuendo. But then when you start again, don't start at the same level as you were at the beginning. I would say, you know, you've grown from that. It's like, oh, going to a journey. You're not going there and then back all the way there. I think it's really think of it as a very long phrase. All of that beginning, I would say.
Okay.
Again, I think you can play a little bit more, just as simple as the fact that it's da, 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 a bit less, then a bit more da, da, not have them both the same. I think the F more, then the second time, then it's the E a tiny bit more, and then again more, and then when you get all the way to the, you know, I can't remember the notes before, but then you get to that, after the beginning, to that C there, and that's the highest note that you've got to up to then, and then you're gonna go down again. So I think that really is like a peak point. So I think maybe you can even show that a bit more to really feel like this is the high point that you've reached. Of sound, everything, and then yeah, and then you go on to the next bit, and then da, da, a bit less, and again a bit more, but show the differences a little bit more. As simple as it might sound to say, oh, if it goes up I do more, and if it goes down I do less, I think it's more a very subtle difference. It's not so much about dynamic, but I think it's more about just make the audience make it a bit clearer for the audience what's going on in terms of intensity and in terms of,
yeah, that's true.
You know, as we were talking just before, you know, I mean, you would sing it like that, right? Surely, like you wouldn't go da da. You would probably go da da, and then you repeat it. You could even do it a bit more when it goes again. Da, you know, a tiny bit more. And I think to think about it more like that. And I find also, because you said that you, with the piece, you suddenly found, you know, loads of details to work on, and then sometimes we are, you know, a bit like suddenly there's so many things to think of, and I think sometimes it's good to go back to, musically anyway, to the most simplest and most natural way of doing it. I think sometimes we tend to, and especially when we get told, you know, sometimes, oh, do this, and then things pile up, and we've got a whole things of things to think about. But I think for it to make sense musically, to sometimes just to have a really clear idea of in terms of intervals of where it goes and of where you know, again, okay, so it's going up and then it's going down and then it repeats, so surely with a bit more intensity. Just a simple thing like that, which you, again, you don't have to do with the dynamic in itself, but a bit with the vibrato, a bit, maybe a tiny bit more in the string in terms of your playing, and even maybe it can be a difference of the way you're changing the string, which is, you know, you're doing, so one can be a bit less legato, so, and then one can be very legato. So there's many little things that you can do to influence the fact that one is going to have more intensity without actually changing the dynamic, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Lot.
Okay, I think just one last thing. I think the C should be a bit more than the E. I think at the moment it's like dee da, no dee da. Good. Yes. Yeah. That already makes more sense. If you want to keep going. Okay, okay. It's very nice. Um, I think if we just start that bit again, when you go from the G string, um, I think again, you really have a lovely, really lovely vibrato, but I find that nearly because you have such a, you know, it's very nice that you have this energy in your vibrato. You know, many people don't have that, and we have to work really hard to have that. So it's great that you have that also. Um, but I think you, I think sometimes it can be a tiny bit more relaxed. It you know, I think if you get too much of one thing, you don't appreciate it anymore. So I think it's the same with vibrato. If you give all the time the same type of vibrato, people don't really appreciate it anymore. So I think try sometimes and force yourself to have a tiny bit slower vibrato, a tiny bit, you know, just kind of less intense. and you can put it, you know, wherever you feel is right. But I think to always have that energy in the vibrato, despite what the mood is making it actually a tiny bit less musical, as you, because you really are very musical. But I think the vibrato, the fact that the vibrato is nearly all the time very intense like that, is taking away from the musicality. I think if you were to really follow your emotion with the vibrato and to make it, sometimes I think it's just like it tends to be all the time really lots of energy, which again is great. You know, it's quite difficult to do, so that's great that you have that. But to try and sometimes slow it down, sometimes widen it a little bit. Yeah, would you be able to try that again, that whole phrase, with that in mind? Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but for me that was much more touching, actually, and I felt much more moved by you playing then, because it was, yeah, it didn't feel as tense, and I think that's just because you varied the vibrato, and I think that's much more, yeah, much more powerful emotionally. So yeah, I think that's good. I think you can keep doing that, in the, just think about that in the rest of the playing, it's especially in slow passages like that, to try and pick. And it doesn't mean that you can't use it, because there's some place when you need, and I think use it, especially when you put notes where there's lots of intensity and tension. But in places where it's a tiny bit calmer, just also allow yourself to use it a bit of a calmer.
Oh, sorry.
Nervous, calm vibrato. Okay. Do you want to go on? We've got some time for the next part.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a question. What do you think? How the best way to learn all these like passages with this spiccato strich? I'm so wondering.
Yes, okay, I think, I was actually just going to
I'm
mention,
sorry.
was that maybe, you still, I think you're handling it really quite well. I think, the thing which is I mentioned just before, which is that, we have a difficult passage and something that's quite fast, we tend to move a little bit more. And actually, you're really quite good. Like you're not moving a lot, but one thing that tends to happen is that you when you do down bow, you tend to go a little bit with it in terms of your body, which is very natural. But I think it unbalances a little bit your violin and makes it a little bit harder. And I think especially in terms of spiccato bowing, when we need to be with such a good balance between the string and the bow, if we move a lot, every time we move, we have to rethink everything in terms of balance. So in passages like that, I usually practice as I don't know, maybe you probably have done it already, but I sometimes practice against the corner of a door or of a room, just to make sure that I'm really stable in terms of my body. So I would actually have, try and have a wall behind me, a corner wall, so that I can I don't hit the ball, and I would play the passage. And usually you will feel like it's actually quite much harder because you're used to move a lot, but if anything, actually learning the passage without moving and actually having it all in your right hand, I find it helps a lot, and it helps a lot in terms of nerves as well, because when we are a bit nervous in a performance, I mean, I speak of personal experience, it might be different for you, but I feel like we tend to move more, like when we get a bit nervous and move a little bit more, and get that feeling. And I think if we practice, and when I have practiced actually with that stability of remembering the feeling of when you have the wall behind you, that you really just there, remembering that feeling and having it just there, even if you're a bit nervous, even if it feels a bit less comfortable than in practice, you're still going to have a lot more control that if you're moving the whole body with it. And then in terms of practice, how do you practice it at the moment, that passage, for example?
I just play parts of this passage. For example, like I play, like I try to do it perfectly as I can, and then like I try to connect everything. So just try to. Yeah, but it's like in this music in Schubert is so much a lot of work on the right hand, and sometimes I just don't know how can I like play it, and how can I just do it with my right hand, just all of these charts. So
yeah. I think just maybe a few things. Do you practice it also? Just the practice, of open. You practice it open strings, but with still the left hand fingers working. So.
Oh yeah.
You do that.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good one.
Yeah, you do that. Okay, and then I think. Is it what exactly do you find difficult in the right hand? Is it the balance? Because I think sometimes it's going to be the balance of the.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. What do you feel like when you're playing like this and that you're not feeling comfortable? Is it that you're losing balance? Is it that you're going up the bow in terms of the right hand? Is it that you're not making a clear sound? What exactly do you find difficult?
I think I lose attention between string a lot. Like I lose angle, maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So
okay, I think from what I saw, I think there's maybe two things. There's one thing that indeed that you talked about angle, and that sometimes I think usually you have a very straight bow, but sometimes when it gets a bit harder, you turn a bit more that way. So I think to really always think that you're going that way instead of that way would always help. And then I think to really work on the balance of the pinky in the right hand would help, because sometimes we lose balance, and then we struggle to keep the sound really clean. I would say that and I would usually practice all together. So I mean, for example, the whole section together, but I would start with the metronome, at quite a slow tempo with the metronome, and I would put it up like 5 or 10 beats maximum each time. And in terms of the right hand, I would say that I don't know. I would leave the spiccato for it to be something quite natural, and I would try and practice it more into the string, into the string, because I think again when we are actually quite nervous, we tend to have less pressure rather than more. And I think naturally the jumping is going to happen very naturally. And you're a very great player, so I don't think you will have any problem with that. I think it's actually more feeling the comfort of actually knowing the string crossing, and for things like that, for the string crossing, I think actually really have the feeling of the bow on the string is important. And if we always practice it spiccato, I think we don't really learn the connection between each string. And so I think I would personally practice without the bow stroke, just fully legato. But and even exercises like playing it all at the heel, for example, to train a little bit your the balance of the pinky, and then you put it up like five, as I said, 5 beats or something each time. But every time has to be exactly right, and you feel fully confident about that passage. Then you move on to the next tempo. And I find for me that I personally find that's the best way to build up a passage without stress. Because what's going to happen, for example, sometimes is that we're going to practice something slow, and then we are going to practice slow, it works slowly, and we're going to tend to think, okay, it works slowly, and then we kind of go from a slow tempo to a very quite fast tempo, and then it doesn't work anymore, and we're thinking, oh, like all that work, that worked for nothing. I don't think it's for nothing. It's just that when you practice something more, like if you practice it more slowly, but you're not actually practicing it to play it fast, that's going to be the where the unbalance is going to be. Is the fact that you've not practiced it enough in a fast tempo. You've not felt confident enough playing in a fast tempo. So I think try and you can play a whole, like take a whole section, and originally I would take the whole section. I would, for example, check the intonation without the metronome first. Check the intonation, check the shift, and make sure you're happy with that. Then you put a very slow, quite a slow tempo, and you play it a few times. Make sure all the string crushing are right, or the bow is straight. It really comes from the it really comes from the hand. All the movements come from your hand, not from anywhere like that. You really feel confident, no shoulder up, anything. Very stable posture. Okay, just fully. I think when we prepare something for performance or competition or whatever, we really have to minimize the movements. We have to make it as simple as it can be. And so I think just really think about it all here, all very close, this string to this string, and then, okay, push it up a bit more, okay, then still have this feeling of everything together, everything feeling comfortable, and you put it up 5 like that, up to the tempo that you want. Whatever tempo you played, you when I played at and in the performance, you with the metronome go up at least 5 or 10 more, so that then you go down, and then you're feeling really comfortable with it because you've even practiced playing it faster than that. But you really build it up, and I think that's a really important and key element of practice, that sometimes we don't build it up enough. We just go from one very slow practice to bam, try and play it, when we've not going up slowly, which is a lot of the time what it needs to then feel confident playing it fast. And actually there's also one thing, is that you won't even realize that you're going faster in a way, because you're putting it 5 5 5, so it feels very natural. It's not a sudden stress of I'm playing faster now. And so I think that's definitely something that I would say for me personally has worked in all the passages like that, to really grow it bit by bit. Yeah, and it helps for everything, honestly. It also helps for you don't seem to have any problem, but for the memory as well, it helps the fact that you're repeating it like that quite a few times. Also, for me, helped with memory. So I found it's a really good way to help with their most things in a passage. And yeah, I think that's I wanted to stay on that bit. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was really helpful. Helpful. Thank you.
But yeah, if you have any more questions or anything, I'm happy to answer. I'm sorry again. I hope it's always difficult when we're not in the room to comment on certain things like sound, because I know it's very different and it doesn't do you justice, but it still sounded very beautiful from anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. That was really, really, really insightful to listen to. Does anyone have any questions regarding anything that she discussed or anything? Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me? Esther, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I'm Misha Galaganov. I'm professor of viola at Texas Christian University. And my father is also a violinist, actually, and my mother is a pianist. And we've had a lot of friends who are soloists. So I grew up with violin playing a lot. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for such a beautiful performance and also for such insightful masterclass in such not easy situation, because even performing, and that would relate to my question also, but even performing like that when the audience is not present in the same room is very different. We don't realize until we do this how much we actually rely on feeling what people feel in next to us, and even applause are silent. So this is not easy situation, and you play beautifully, bravo. And also dealing with teaching online like this when sound interruptions and it's not clear how it really sounds. So again, I already said it several times, but thank you again for such wonderful experience. So my question is, so how in this current pandemic do you deal with both your performance career and also with your other creative projects that you have? So how do you manage to keep it going, and what do you do for that?
I think obviously the situation has been a shock and a surprise for everybody, and I think the hardest thing about it is that anyway, personally, I thought it was going to last for a month or so, and then it was gonna get better. But I think the scary thing that we are facing is the fact that now it's been since March that the situation is like this, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. If anything, performances are still cancelled, and we have no idea when it's gonna start again. So at the beginning, it's a little bit upsetting to see that I got so concerts cancelled and I'm not traveling anymore. But I think we have to adapt. And I guess the one thing that I was happy about is the fact that I've always been very keen on using social media as a way to share my music. And so when this thing happened, I didn't feel completely like my career stopped, because I had still a link with so many people over social media. And I guess the way I've been dealing with it, the reason why I haven't felt like everything is gone, is that I've just used my connections that I've made over the past years and just grew that even more. I think there's many things that can be done. We just have to adapt to it. I think a lot of musicians sometimes before this happened were quite against using online, for example. I mean, just the fact that now we do online masterclasses. I mean, it's amazing that I'm in France and I'm I've played to you in Texas. I think that's a wonderful thing. But people weren't so keen about it, before. And I know there's obviously sometimes some difficulty in terms of technicalities because it's not the same as being in the same room. But I think when we don't have a choice, and then even the whole world is changing, we have to adapt to it. So I think the reason why for musicians is especially hard is because we kind of didn't really want to adapt even before that, and then when this whole pandemic started, it was like, well, now we have to go with the rest of the world. But I would say just use the connections that you have, make more connections. There are a lot of things that are possible to be done, and I think also people are starting to be much more open about doing new things, about finding new ways to do these things. So I've tried personally to really have a different range of things that I do in my career, and I think that's something that's quite important as a musician today. So I do some performance, but I absolutely love education, and I have some students. I have doing some masterclass. I'm doing some group classes, some workshops, and then there are also like things on my social media, like reviewing different violins, reviewing music accessories. So there's many things that I've tried to do, which means that my career has different sides to it. And that's something I would definitely encourage anybody to do, to not only have one thing, to be more open-minded. I think the world is changing, and we do have to adapt, as uncomfortable as that can be sometimes. The quicker we realize it, the better we will be. And so I think in a world like today, it's nice to be able to be really open-minded on all the possibilities that you have. And there really are so many. I think sometimes I don't know actually how it is in the US. I think you already are more open-minded than in Europe, but in my music colleges, we didn't really get taught how to be original, or how to use the all the tools that we have today. We were just taught about the current things that you could do. You can be a soloist, you can be a chamber, you can be a teacher, and or play in an orchestra, and that was the only 4 options that we had, when actually there's so much more that can be done, and so much more where you can, we also talk about even financially to actually for it to work financially, and there's so much more that can be done. And sometimes it's very, we just have to be a bit more open-minded and look around us. But I think it's not because performances have stopped that people don't listen to music anymore. No, not at all. If anything, people listen to music even more. So I would say that the way I've dealt with it is just even expanding even more the different things that I've been doing in my career, and used my contact it's a really great feeling actually, so I don't feel completely lost and completely cut from everything around.
Thank you.
Sorry, it was a long answer.
I have a second question. If you have a little more time, actually relates to that. Do I understand correctly that you are still finishing your degree?
Yes.
So you balancing all of this, and so how did the virus situation affected your studies personally? Like, do you have to do also online? Do you do it in person? What do you do?
So we doing it all online at the moment. Violin like instrumental lessons as well as academic lessons are all taking place online, and that's also been something that we had to get used to. I think I don't know how it is over there, but on lessons, there's many things that are quite different when you're not in the same room as your teacher. But it's got better now. I think I'm more used to it now. And I think one thing I've done also with is that I try and record myself quite often. And then send it to my teacher, and then send it to, and I rewatch that to also keep the feeling of having performances, to not lose that feeling, because it's very easy to lose it actually, and to not have a goal anymore. And I think that's why I've tried, for example, to have goals. Okay, this piece it needs to be good enough to be recorded, and I record it and then post it on my social media. So it's a goal for me, because again, I think it's one thing that's quite difficult in this time, is the fact that we feel like we don't have a next date of that performance is coming up, so we have to create it for ourselves.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question. First of all, thank you so much for doing this with us and for performing for us and teaching us. It was just such an enjoyable thing to be part of. And it was great to meet you too. Yes, thank you. My question, I was just wondering, how did you decide, like when you were younger, that you really wanted to pursue music for your career? Like, how did you come to realize that's what you wanted to do?
So actually, when I started taking proper lessons on the violin, I was around 10 years old, and as soon as I had my first lesson, I don't know, I really fell in love with the instrument, and I thought, oh, I want to do this. But now this is very different from actually realizing what it means. And I think what was quite difficult in my case was the fact that this was a dream of a child, a 10 years old child, of saying I want to be musicians. And I started in a small school in the village in France with not really, I would say, a teacher that was supporting me in learning the right things. And I still had this dream. I had this dream, but then you get being a teenager, and I then realized, okay, this is my childhood dream. This is where I am now. In terms even of level, when you've not had the proper studies, the proper basics. And then I was seeing other people, the other people of my age, thinking, oh gosh, okay, this is where I should be, this is where I am now, how am I going to do to become professional? And then I went on to do my studies in England, and this is also, I guess, what gave me the chance of seeing more international level than in my city in France. And so I went then, but it was still a big realization, a big shock, thinking, okay, here I am, and so many people are so much better than me and so much more advanced than me, and had so much more background behind them in terms of technique and in terms of just understanding music much more. But honestly, with a lot of, and I still have a lot to learn, but I think with a lot of hard work and a lot of will, I just kept going. And I think the one thing to remember, and I think the one thing that I wish somebody told me, is that even if when you're 15 years old, for example, or even when you're 18, if you see that some people around you feel that they are so much more advanced than you, it means nothing. It really doesn't. A lot of people, I think the main difference is that a lot of people stop after the first time they've felt or there's something hard happened to them, they just give up. And honestly, the amount of people, there is so much more in front of me, and I thought, I don't understand, how can they stop? But they did, because they thought, oh, it was too hard, and they stopped. Even though for me it seemed like their problems seemed so much less hard than where I was, and I'm feeling so behind. But I think just the fact that you don't stop and you actually keep going will that's what will bring you the further. It's really not so much about where you are right now. It's just the fact that you're going to keep going towards your goal, towards your dream, and you will get there. Like it's really, really. I know it's hard to. I mean, I don't know. For me, it was hard to believe, and I was feeling really, really behind. But background, it's not so much about how strong you were as a player, as a kid, or even as a teenager. It's so much to do with your mental capacity and just your mental will, and the fact that you're not going to give up and you're going to keep working towards your goal. So I think for me that to answer the question again, sorry, it's a bit long, but I decided that I wanted to become a musician when I was 10 years old, but the realization of knowing actually what it meant was much later, and it was quite shocked. But I think because it was a big dream of mine, that's why I really stuck to it and kept going despite these difficulties. But I know a lot of people are in the same case. There's not that many young virtuosos, in the world. Actually, it's quite rare that. And it's very, very great for them that that if at 14 years old you're playing with an orchestra and you're playing all the concerti, like that's amazing. But that's not the case. And it doesn't matter. It's not because you're not there when you're that age that you can't actually achieve your dreams and achieve your goals when you're 25 or when you're 30. It means nothing. It really doesn't. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I have a question.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say thank you for coming and playing for us. It was so nice to hear you, and it was really inspiring to hear your suggestions and like all your feedback and everything. Yeah, I want to ask you. I know you have a lot going on right now, and like since everything went online, like you had to switch from teaching and from like your studies to online stuff. So how do you balance your practice time with all of that, and like how are you staying motivated?
So I try and really have a planning of my time. So for example, I try and do all my violin practice in the morning. Personally, I'm more focused in the morning. So I mean, we're all different, but so for example, I will time, okay, how many hours do I need today, and I will try and put that all in the morning. And fit in between my online lessons. In terms of knowing of staying motivated, for me a big thing is have goals. So I talked a little bit before about recording myself. I was saying, oh, on that day I need to record myself. I think to try and have long-term and short-term goals as well. So have a bit longer-term goals in terms of maybe 2 weeks to 4 weeks. So with a piece of music, for example, if you say, okay, this movement of the concerto, even if you don't have the performance, put yourself goals, put yourself things on. So you're gonna say, okay, even though maybe there's no audience, but still I'm gonna learn it by memory. By I don't know, in 3 weeks I will know it by memory, and I will film myself and record it, and actually have a record, for example, a record. Because of course, when we're gonna we have to make it as great as we can from beginning to end without stopping. So this will kind of get you out of the practice, but no performance, nothing happening. I think we have to create our own, especially in this time, we have to create our own performance opportunities. You can do that. You can do even bring a bit of your family and just say, okay, let's, on that day, I will make a small family concert, for example, and play through your stuff. I think the best way to stay motivated is actually just put yourself some goals. And actually, if anything, if you reach your own goals, there's nothing nicer than that feeling. And I think in terms of everyday motivation, really try and have a planning. So I think because I don't know, like personally, I stay all day at home. It can be very easy to practice and just the day goes on, and I think makeup planning, personally, I make the planning of my day really hour by hour, and I know that I have to do this amount of practice, and you don't need, if you've achieved that, you don't need to do more. You can focus the rest of the day on your studies, academic studies, or doing something, I don't know, whatever you want, something different, but actually feel like you've achieved what you wanted, so you feel, okay, I'm good with that, I'm not gonna keep practicing and just wasting my time, just actually achieve what you want to achieve. And it can be literally just, okay, this skill, then this study, then I will practice this, but actually have a real planning. So short-term planning of each day, which leads to a long-term plan of over 1 week, of over 2 weeks, of for example, this study needs to be learned in 2 weeks, or this piece needs to be learned, and actually have that planning. I think you usually have it anyway when you're in class, but just make it for yourself. Just use the experience that you had with that and actually make it for yourself. For me, helped a lot with motivation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much again, Esther. We just can't thank you enough for everything. It was an amazing experience. I'm sure everyone feels the same way that I do. And yeah, we're just so thankful for this experience that we got to have with you. And we hope that we'll hear from you in the future and maybe do this again sometime.
No, thank you for having me again. It's really lovely to, despite what's happening, still connecting with other people, other musicians, and in different places of the world. So thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the people who played. It was really beautiful.
Of course. Well, I think that'll be everything. And for those who joined, I'll be sending out a survey to you guys that Alyssa made, so we can hear about feedback on the event and everything. So, but yeah, and I'll also have this posted on the YouTube. So I'm gonna stop the recording.